Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Night of the Shield. I'm Jason Smith, a.k.a. The Knight, a.k.a. The Blind Jedi. Some interesting reports out today, Tuesday, the 9th of January. I don't claim to know it all. In fact, I know I don't know it all. There's a lot of things I don't understand as far as like caps and certain, how to do my own spreadsheet and pull up the cap or what have you. I wish I had it like that, but I don't. But I do understand the Rooney Rule. Has everybody forgot about the Rooney Rule? I'm sure you haven't. We're going to address a little bit of that today. And as it pertains to the reports that are coming out today, it's pretty much irrelevant. Plus, I want to go through some of the different scenarios and the way that the media is spinning everything and drawing hype and attention and clickbait and so on and so forth. And some of it's legit. Anything is possible, man. In this world, anything is possible. In the National Football League, we've learned that everything is possible. So what does it even mean? What does all this mean? What does all these leaked reports, some leaked, some, asking for permission to talk to certain coaches for certain positions? What does it all mean? That's what I want to clarify today on this show. So let's jump right into it because I'm busy. You're busy. I don't want to keep you here for all the fluff. But if you're new here, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be updated every time we drop another podcast or go live. All right. Let's start off the top. Let's start off on the hot news because, AP is going to be front and center on every conversation moving forward until he's not. It's just the way it is, right? Everybody, I see it all over the place. People are still saying, just hire him. Just hire him already. Get it over with. Hire him. The Rooney Rule will not allow Mark Davis to hire AP. Even though Antonio Pierce is considered a minority, Al Davis still has to interview two, maybe only one, technically. One other minority coach before he makes the decision there. But again, it's been reported and it's obvious that Mark Davis is not starting there. He is starting at the general manager position where he at least has to interview one minority GM. Just one, not two, which Champ Kelly falls right into line with that because he was already interim. He didn't have the full-time position. So when he talks to Champ, that covers that. But he's got to do his due diligence. He's got to go out. And again, I'm not, saying I don't know it all. Maybe Champ doesn't qualify because he's already in-house. Maybe that doesn't qualify. I don't know. But the Rooney Rule was made to give opportunities to minorities to get interviews. It's changed a couple of times. In the recent change, it's two minorities for a head coaching position, one for coordinator positions, and one for general manager or any other office type position. And it's worked to a very small percentage degree since the rule has been implemented and changed. But nevertheless, coaches are coaches, owners are owners, and a lot of the times they have their mind made up. And in this particular situation, you would think it would be okay for the Raiders if this was the Raiders' choice, if this was Mark's choice right off the bat and he didn't have to go through all the fluff because we had a minority defensive coordinator, a minority interim head coach, a minority interim general manager, and we already have a minority president. This is where the rule, I think, could be amended and changed to where if you already have that and that's the way you're going, what is the point? Because you're already serving the point. So, I don't know. But the bylaws are the bylaws, policies and procedures. They all have to be followed or it opens up for lawsuits regardless. So that's part of the issue, not just with the Raiders in particular, but all of the teams that are bidding for head coaches and general managers at this time. All the rules apply. And we'll get into more of that because there's more to talk about, especially when it comes to the Rooney Rule and the fluff later on. But staying on the AP wagon, all the other reports I'm seeing, everybody's getting hyped and saying, look it. Antonio Pierce is up for the defensive coordinator job for the New York Giants if he doesn't get hired as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Which is cool, man, which is cool. But I just want to be honest about something, though. It's something that we have to just take in consideration. And before I get into it, I want to put it out there in the universe. I am rooting for AP. I don't believe in messing with something that's already working. And even though it's not perfect, even though we don't exactly know how it's all going to come together next year, I would go with the hot hand. You're in Vegas, baby. If you got a hot hand, keep rolling with it, right? And that's just where I'm particularly at. And I want complete structure. And I think AP gives us that best opportunity, you know, president, GM, head coach, et cetera. I've covered it a million times. If you're new here, check out some of the lives and we'll be talking about it more as we move forward. But I want structure in the organization. I want accountability and structure. And I think we have the best opportunity to get that by going with someone like AP and having a true, pure general manager that calls the shots. Now, as far as the defensive coordinator position, what's interesting about that is, let's be honest with ourselves. Outside of the fact that he's already won over this locker room, and yes, in 9 games he went 5-4, which, come on, let's truly be honest. You know, we're giving him passes on the idea that he didn't start the season off. This wasn't fully him implemented. This is just his personality being implemented in the middle of the season and using the same structure. And we have to give credit to Patrick Graham as it pertains to the defense. And you got to at least give him 90% of that. That's 90% Patrick Graham. And that was the full-on strength of this football team. So is it fair to say that somebody would be offering Antonio Pierce a defensive coordinator position and not a head coach position? Totally makes sense to me. It's to add to his resume, continue to build up his resume and have opportunities later on. And that is definitely would be the trajectory. The guy's already on the trajectory. No matter what, he will be a head coach in the National Football League. Mark my words. More on that later. But don't get so caught up into Mark's making a mistake. Because even for that coordinator position over the Giants, they have to interview somebody. They have to interview a minority for that position. It's in the bylaws. So above and beyond that, right? Is it fair to say if you were to think about it like this, you got to look at the resumes. If he goes up against Jim Harbaugh, and all reports are saying it's either AP or Harbaugh, that's what we're all saying, right? And we're selling ourselves that, by the way. But in my mind, and I've stated it, I'm not going to hide behind a rock and act like I didn't say it. AP or Harbaugh, I'll be happy. It's not a bad move. If AP wouldn't have done what he did and had this locker room and had the freaking stadium yelling out AP and had Woodson and everybody having his back, and you were purely basing it off resumes, and anybody who's been in management and did hiring and firing, which I do that, okay, or I've done that. I have opportunities to give my input at work now for people that we should hire and talk to certain people, right? And the bottom line is we're looking for the best candidates. We're going to pull the best resumes. So it's not like it's disrespectful to AP to have Harbaugh in the conversation. Let's just put that out there, right? But it's so funny that, moving off the AP situation just a little bit and kind of moving that needle to the Raider situation and what Mark Davis faces. Everybody's saying that, the connection is there. You got Tom Brady, one of the advisors from Michigan. They have the same agent. There's a lot of people that have the same agent. That, whatever. Okay, make the connection. Well, he was a quarterbacks coach back in the day over here. This is where his coaching career started. It makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. His wife sells real estate in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm sure she's been doing it for a long time. He's been in Michigan for 10 years. And she can continue to sell real estate in Las Vegas. Would it make it easier for the both of them? Yeah, sure. More of that in the future too, by the way. All these connections, right? All of these connections. But it doesn't sell and guarantee that Harbaugh is targeting the Raiders. The same argument is being made in Los Angeles right now with the Chargers. People are saying the same thing. He used to play for the Chargers. He has Herbert, has a pretty stacked roster. Yeah, they have salary cap issues, but they got a high draft pick. He can get some, a nice little piece to be added to that mix, and we're off to the races. So he should consider it. And Spanos has already came out and said he's interested, and they're willing to spend the money. Money's not going to be an issue. These are the things that are being leaked and reported. None of it's guaranteed. So there's a lot of connections to the Chargers too. So go ahead and check that box. And so that means he's going to the Chargers or the Raiders. What a great way to rack up your worth by pitting those two people against each other, right? So why is everybody all bent out of shape right now that Patrick Graham is getting an interview with the Chargers? Remember, the Chargers, if truly interested in Harbaugh too, which means Patrick Graham is not their first pick, he's a minority that they have to bring in an interview, which this is where the Rooney Rule is just messed up, man. Just grab Patrick Graham. And in all fairness and everything, like Patrick Graham has proven himself. An opportunity is going to be waiting for him at some point. You'd have to believe that, especially if this continues. I don't think it's this year. I don't think the Chargers pull that trigger. I don't. Look how long we've been waiting for Bieniemy from Kansas City, who was the offensive coordinator in Washington this past year, and he still hasn't got a gig. Again, the Rooney Rule failing. It's failing. It makes no sense. So don't get caught up in the hype early on that Patrick Graham is going to get the Charger job. I mean, we're barely in the first 2 days of this coaching carousel. It's irrelevant. And now you got Mike Vrabel throwing his name in the mix. I mean, people are going to be talking to him as well. That's another viable option. So again, Harbaugh is tied to the Chargers job. Patrick Graham, kind of pinning the same situation, right? Checking the boxes. We'll see what happens. Another team out there with connections, because everybody's got connections. I mean, you could find a connection anywhere, by the way. It's not that hard. Washington Commanders. They say it would be a great fit because, A, they have a ton of salary cap so that he could build whatever he wants there. Plus, they have the second overall pick in the draft, meaning he can go get Drake May, or he could trade that back and stock up some more draft picks and still get his J.J. McCarthy if that's what he really wanted to do, right? He has tons of options if he takes Washington, and with new owners over there in Washington, they definitely have the money and they will cut a check and give him whatever he wants if that's the way that they decide to go. And looking for that better connection like he does with the Chargers and the Raiders, guess what? It's the NFC, his brother's in the AFC. They don't have to go against each other, and their parents could live right in the middle of Washington and Baltimore, be close to both their sons and support both of them throughout the year, and the family's closer together. And if you ask me, that's the best connection out of everything that I've heard when it comes to the Raiders, Chargers, and the Redskins. I would say the Redskins got the best chance if it was me. So, and as that starts to become more and more clear, Mark will know when to pull out of the race. Because one of the biggest things that we keep hearing is looking to make a big splash, sign a big marketable name. And I get it. Harbaugh's that guy. People are talking about Vrabel now. That's another thing that Mark would do. He would go over to Vrabel, another big high profile name. Vegas would love that. Rumors and reports that he wants to sit down and talk to Belichick. Whatever. Like, I mean, do you honestly think that he would hire Belichick? Now, we could talk Belichick and resumes all day and compare resumes between Belichick and Harbaugh and all that BS. They like, just stop. He's not going backwards. He's not going to piss off the nation, piss off that locker room and bring more Patriots in here. He's not going to do it. I don't even know if that report is 100% true, but who wouldn't want to sit down with a mind like that and just talk? Just why not talk? Anyways, like I just find that I thought that one to be one of the funniest, right? But honestly, like if you had asked me, Washington, like they have the best chance from a marketing standpoint. Are you going to try to sell me the idea that AP is not marketable in Vegas? Come on. What is the first people like? Okay, I get it. As a city, as a destination, tourists, I get it. He probably is not going to reach out maybe as big of a name, well-known name as Jim Harbaugh, and then John Harbaugh and Jack Harbaugh and national champion with the Michigan. Come on, I get that. But AP himself has already run over this fan base. This fan base has, early on, as long as they win, this fan base is back. And they're going to support the Raiders through and through because they believe in AP. That's marketable right there. You can merch the hell out of AP's name. Big time. Big time. That's money to be made there. Also, strong, tight LA connection. Half the Raider Nation's in LA. Come on. They're already coming to the games. You're going to solidify that continues moving forward. The league might not like that, trying to get the Raider fans out of LA. It's not going to help their cause per se, but dude, he's going to continue to market LA, which is neighboring right there in California, as well as he was a defensive coordinator for Arizona State, which is the next state right over too, right on the other side of Nevada. So trust me. And he played for the New York Giants on a team that beat the Patriots, one of the biggest upsets in NFL Super Bowl history. He's marketable, maybe not in the same way as some of these other guys, but the dude's marketable. Like let's not forget that, right? So again, there's too much weaving in and out. There's too much information for us to process to have any clue on January 9th, 2024 of which way this is all going to go. There's so many boxes that are being checked right now. It's not even fair. The Rooney Rule is a joke. I want to see that rule change. I want to see the league change and have equal opportunity. I don't have the answer, but I don't know. When you have a franchise that has always been known for giving minorities opportunities, way before this was even a rule, okay? And as it stood, like I said, our defensive coordinator, our interim head coach, our interim general manager, our president of our organization, all minorities. And to have to sit there and make these guys either wait or bring more in, and bringing these other people in for what? To check a box at this point? Like the Raiders have nothing to prove in that area. So it is frustrating, and it bothers the hell out of me. And I just don't believe in it. I just don't believe in it. And if there's decisions that could already be made, we should already be making them and moving on to our season, you know. But I believe that Mark still, with that said, still has the right, and he still should see what's out there, see what's changed. It's the right, smart business move. You just got to do it. You're being forced to do it anyway. So if you're going to have to do it anyway, make it legit. Bring in guys that you truly want to hear from, that you truly want to get to know, that you really want to see what they have to offer and bring to the table. You just got to play that part of it out. So with that, I'm all for it. I back it up 100%. I think it's a great move. But don't buy into all this hype, guys. Let's just take deep breaths. Let's kick back. Let's let this thing play out. Let the truth will always come out, dude. Always. I think AP has a real shot. I really do. I really believe that AP has a real shot. I think you just got to let this make-believe smoke clear a little bit, and we'll know by how quickly he moves on this general manager stuff. Let the Harbaugh cycle come out. Harbaugh said some things that made it sound like he was going back to Michigan. Like, everybody's throwing stuff out there. It's crazy. But don't buy into the hype of Patrick Graham. Don't buy into the hype about AP being a defensive coordinator. If anything, use your mind. Use that as another way to process and think about how this works. Checking out a resume. What would you do? Right? Unfortunately, I don't think we land AP even as a defensive coordinator after being the interim head coach here. He's going to want the job. And trust me, Mark has to take into consideration that locker room, the alumni, and the fan base. And if you're Jim Harbaugh, think about that. You're Jim Harbaugh, and you got all these people with their checkbooks out, and you're evaluating every situation. Well, yeah, I can get a quarterback over here. I mean, they got a great defense. I need some pieces, but they got Devontae Adams, and I know there's rumors floating around there with the number thing and all that. I'm letting all that play out too. He's under contract. He doesn't get to call a shot. You got Devontae Adams. You know, you got Jacoby Myers. You got some great tight ends, running back already there. It's interesting. The Chargers already got a loaded roster. Bad salary cap situation. If it was me, and I'm telling you to understand that you got to look at resumes and find out who the best fit is. These coaches are doing the same thing. And if you ask me, it's the Commanders. It's the Commanders. Outside of the fact that I'm a Raider fan, I would pick the Commanders. I mean, of course, I would pick the Raiders because I'm a Raider fan, but I'm biased. But if I was Harbaugh looking at the situation, the Commanders make the most sense. I could get my family close together. We're coaching in the NFL. We're both working at this for the same goal. They got money. They're going to pay me. They have the more money to pay me what I want than anybody else. They got $80 million in salary cap, the second overall pick. Dude, that's the dream job. Are you kidding me? Come on. Like, we have to just be real about it. We have to be real about it. And if you were Jim Harbaugh, right? Because we're always talking about, well, look at the connections, and this is why he would like this, and this is why he would like that. Would you like to be Jim Harbaugh and walk into a locker room that doesn't want you? That they wanted the other guy? Did you want to walk into a locker room where even like Charles Woodson, Marcus Allen, they're all rooting for AP? I wouldn't want to walk into that situation. He's got to go win them over. He's already starting in the negative. I don't think it looks good for Harbaugh to be a Raider. It don't. And that's not to say he won't. But understand, guys, watch the videos, get the information, follow the clickbait. But remember, Rooney Rule is real, number one. So Patrick Graham being a minority coach, getting an early on opportunity to interview in LA with the Chargers, that don't mean nothing. Now, for the record, if they want to hire him and they want to give him that opportunity, man, I support that. I don't support where he's going, but I think that's great. He deserves a shot. If someone's willing to give it to him, why not? Why not? Bieniemy should too then, right? He should already have a gig. So this is where it gets real dicey, but don't believe the hype right now. No one's stealing nobody. They got to bring in a minority coach in. They're doing it. We'll see what it comes of it, right? Defensive coordinator Giants with AP. Honestly, guys, seriously, if it's not AP, I don't see why if it's not Harbaugh, I don't see why Mark won't pull the trigger on AP. Now, hey, before we get out of here, this is it right here. I'm going to wrap this up. I still say you have to make AP earn it still. He's got to bring in a list of people that he's talked to, a staff that he's ready to put together, an idea of offensive coordinator and GM. And is the GM, once he figures the GM out, is that all part of the package? Is that the conversation that Mark's having and testing the waters when it comes to some of these other coaches that are available? And one last thing, because this was something else that was in my notes that I forgot at work. But think about this. And I made this comment in the live last week before the Bronco game. If we don't get Harbaugh, I said, could you imagine being in a division where we're going up against Sean Payton, Andy Reid, and Jim Harbaugh? But before Andy Reid was Andy Reid, before Sean Payton was Sean Payton, and before John Harbaugh or Jim Harbaugh was Jim Harbaugh, before there was Bill Belichick, before there was John Harbaugh, start naming all the good coaches that we could talk about right now, right? John Gruden's even. Before they were a household name and considered really great coaches, they had to have a beginning. Who's to say that Antonio Pierce is not going to be looked at and viewed the same way in a few years? That he's on that trajectory? That maybe 10 or 15 years from now, because he's much younger than all the guys that we've been talking about today, just a fact. What about 10 or 15 years from now? He's still the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We have a Super Bowl, maybe two, if we're lucky, right? That's not easy in these streets to get a Super Bowl. And we have one of the most dominant coaches in the league. Just think about it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be updated every time I drop in a podcast or go live. And until next time, stay Raider strong. Night.